Notion is the connected workspace where better, faster work happens. So in this video, I'm gonna teach you the basics to get started in no time. Let's get started. So since you're watching this video as a complete beginner, I assume you don't have an account yet. So that's why we wanna create one. So let's click on the button, Get Notion Free in the top right corner. Now we have multiple options to sign up for an account. Because of convenience and personal preference, I will choose the Continue with Google option, but everyone on this page is absolutely fine to go with. I will log in now with Google, and then I will see you on the other side. So this is the first page you're prompted with after completing the registration. This is the first page you're prompted with after completing the account registration. This is the first page you're prompted with after completing the account registration process. Here you want to choose for what you're planning to use Notion. In this case, I'm planning it for personal use to teach you how it works. But it actually doesn't really matter which option you pick. It's just a question so Notion can understand their audience better. Okay, so first of all, let's clear out all of these templates and delete this page. Click on these three dots, click on delete. So we are starting from a completely blank slate. Now we want to add a new page. Everything's blank, everything's perfect. Okay, let's get started with the left side panel. So to simplify everything, we can close the sidebar right here, which makes it appear only on hover. This is my personal preference. So if we have a look at the complete top left corner, you can see that this is a so-called workspace. So you have to imagine it as different buildings, and every building multiple people can live in. And right now, I, Fabian Frank Werner, am living in the workspace called Fabian Frank Werner's Notion. So I could invite more members, more guests, and let more people come into my building. But my building will fill up pretty quickly, and at a certain point, I will need to move in a bigger building to let more people in. And this is where the free plan of Notion ends, and you would have to purchase a paid plan or switch to a paid plan to get a bigger building to invite more people. But the basic functionalities and working of Notions are always the same. You just can add more members to your so-called workspace or team space if you are a company and want to get a little bit more professional. But essentially a workspace and team space works pretty similarly. So that is that. Search, you can search through the entirety of your workspace. All of your pages, all of your text files, all of your documents are indexed and can thus be searched. Your inbox is pretty much your notification page. So if other people mention you, you will see that in the inbox. Now settings and members is pretty interesting. So let's get started with the account settings first. Here you can set personal preferences like set a permanent password to log into your account or activate two-step verification to make your account more secure. You definitely want to turn this setting onto dark mode because this is too bright for my eyes. So I always go with the dark mode. Then you can choose which page to open on start. I will go with the last visited page because that's probably the page you are most interested in continue working on. Then open links in desktop app. If you have the app installed from Notion on your desktop, you could turn on this option to open the links in said app, but the browser version works absolutely fine across all devices, so I personally see no need to installing the desktop app. Okay, time and date is pretty much self-explanatory, as well as the cookie settings and review history. So you want to turn off all notifications, at least I do that in every software I get because I don't like getting notified by anyone. This keeps my inbox and my mind calm and clear of notifications. Then you can connect other stuff like GitHub or GitLab or Asana or HubSpot, other software with Notion, but this is definitely not a beginner feature, so I think we can skip it for now. So language, well, you can change or choose a language and set if you want to start your week on Monday. Otherwise, your week will start on Sunday. These are now the workspace settings, so no longer your personal account settings, but the settings for the entire workspace, so for your entire home or house, as I called it earlier. So here you can rename it, for example, to tutorial work workspace. Change and choose an icon for the workspace. Use a certain domain. So all of your links and other people will see your domain if they have a look at any of your pages. For example, if you make a grocery list and then share it with someone so they can see the grocery list, they will see that your link maybe comes from you, so you can use your own name, for example, as a domain. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And here you can, of course, save changes first. Here you can invite more people to your workspace. That's what I told you about. So by email or name, and then assign them a role. And every time you see this plus plan, it means that this is a paid option. So this is where you can upgrade your plans. On sites, if you publish a website or if you share a website on Notion, which you can see right here, and publish it, you can see it indexed right here. So the page, you can reference the page, the domain name, it's published by who, and since when it is published. Here are some security options, which are all for the enterprise and plus plan, so no worry about changing anything right here. Same goes for identity and provisioning. Then here you have the connections that you can manage. These are the same ones as in your account, but here they apply to your entire workspace. Here you can import from these things or generally docs, CSV, text, markdown, HTML, and many, many more. So that's it for the account settings. Now we can focus on getting started with Notion. So here we can create a team space that's suitable if we are a startup or a cool company, for example, but we don't need a team space right now. Import, this is the same button you have seen right now. This is this import feature, and here's the trash. So if we delete something, it lands in the trash and can be untrashed or unarchived anytime. Okay. But don't take my word for it. It can also be that it's deleted automatically after 30 to 60 days. But in the Notion documentation, there was a note that the Notion team can like undo the deletion of anything. But don't delete anything you want to keep. That's a good rule of thumb. So here you can connect Notion to a Notion calendar. But I think this is too much for a beginner Notion tutorial and needs a separated video, but it's a nice feature. It's pretty new, but let's leave that out. And here you can create templates. So if you don't want to start from a blank page, but maybe, I don't know, want to have a design portfolio, you can import that one. So duplicate it to your page. So your page doesn't look blank like this one does, but it is populated by such a template, which you can see right here. Okay, so now let's get started. We have this panel cleared. Now let's have a look at this panel. So we can see once when the page was last edited, we can share it to the web. So if we can publish it, this is our URL that other people will see. And we can choose if other people are allowed to edit this page, if they are allowed to comment on this page, duplicate this page so they can make a copy of this page to their own workspace or their own Notion account. And you can choose if you want to index this page, so make it viewable in search engines. So for example, if you write something like a blog post, you could make it indexed by search engines so people can find it when they use their browser and search for the topic of your blog post. But we can also unpublish our page at any time, and we can share, of course, to other people with name or email or whatever, or by a link. Okay, here you can see the updates, so any changes and any page history is shown here. You can star a page, so it gets added to your favorites bar on the side. So if I undo that, there are no favorites. If I favorite it, you have a dedicated page or section with all of your favorite pages. And right here are some basic settings. So for example, which font you want to use. If you want to make the page full width, you can see it right here, but normal width is just fine. And pretty much every other setting right here you can leave as is. These are all simple settings you will find out via time, or just use these like short cuts to move around faster. Okay, so this is the heading, which updates automatically right here. And if you hover on the heading, you can see these three things. So we can add an icon. We can either choose an emoji, upload a custom image, or choose an icon, for example, a home, or let's go with a house. and keep it white, call this home page, and we can add a cover. So for example, we can choose one from the gallery, from Unsplash, a royalty-free image website, upload a custom one, or paste an image link. But I like it to leave it blank because it's much more simple and minimal. And you can add comments to the page. So for example, for another person, you could like type an ad and then reference their name, and then like add me, for example, fix this page or build the home page, please. And then you have this conversation, and once it is resolved, you can click on it and the comment like disappears and vanishes. So now let's get started with adding information to the page. So Notion works in blocks, and you can see it right here. So every like space is an individual block, and each block can be filled with a value from Notion's command palette, and you already see that suggested right here. So if I type a slash, these are all the blocks that Notion offers. And I want to spend the rest of this tutorial going through the most important ones, which are essentially the basic blocks. You can either do that by typing slash and then clicking on the block you desire, like this heading, or you can simply go slash and then type it out. So for example, text. Now this is the same block as if I would go slash and then click. So let's go through all of the blocks pretty quickly. So text is simply text. Now page, or I will go in the normal order so you understand each thing. So the page is a sub page. So sub page, I can now go back. So this is basically the same layout. It's another page, but it is layered and nested under our home page. It's the same as a new page on a website. So this is a sub page. So it is under the homepage, so you can reference it, and it has breadcrumbs, so you can click back on the homepage on the page that it is nested in. Okay, next thing, a to-do list. So you can tick something off, and of course, if you hover over something on these buttons, you have another option menu where you can duplicate it, turn it into a page, move it to a page, color it differently, for example blue, and you can turn it into any other basic block. So if I want to do the simple text in a like checkbox, I can do that, and it appears now blue because I just colored it blue. And I can undo everything by typing Control and Z and Z on my keyboard. I use Windows. Probably you will figure it out on your own which combination it is on your Mac device, for example. Okay, this was the to-do. Now we have headings, so we have H1, H2, H3, and so on and so forth. So I don't have to show you all of them. H1 to 3, and it goes down to I think 6. Let's try it out. H6, type a new H6. No results. Oh, they removed it. Okay, so you have heading 1, 2, and 3. They get smaller every time. Then you have a simple table. So for example, weekdays. You can have a look at weekdays, or a calendar. You can build a calendar very manually right here from the bare bones, but I don't recommend doing that because Notion has better features for that than a simple table. But here you can see an example. So here gold, silver, bronze, use a China, I don't know. So you could do that. So gold, silver, bronze, and you can customize a table so you can figure out all of this information on your own. But if you click on it, you can choose header columns. So now they look a little bit differently. And now if I hover on that, you can also choose a header row. So maybe like USA, Germany, and France, for example. And now you can, I don't know, type in stuff in here. And yeah, oh, I see I messed up, but I think you get the point. So gold should be like with a number property and that kind of stuff. But I don't want to waste your time and bore you. So this is the table function and bulleted list, pretty self-explanatory. Then what do we have next? Numbered list, also pretty much self-explanatory. After that comes a toggle list. So you can, if that is a heading, you can toggle it on hide a bunch of information in here, maybe also an image, but then if you close the toggle, all of that gets hidden and you have a simple overview. So you can simplify a lot of pages. Each heading can also be a toggled heading, so you can toggle stuff under a heading. So if I want to convert this example heading, click on here, turn into a toggle heading H1. Now all of this is toggled under here. Now I can hide it all at once. Okay, so what do we have next? We have a quote, so a simple quote. You can adjust the size of the quote, for example, right here. Quote size, small or large, doesn't make a big difference. Then we have a divider. This simply separates it, so it's this simple line that you can see right here. Then we have a link to a page, so we can reference, well, the home page doesn't make very much sense, but the reference page now gets a backlink. Let's delete it and reference the subpage, or let's create a subpage in the subpage, and let's make it, or let's call it 3, and this page is called 2, and this page is called 1. By the way, you can choose to not ask every time, make them always white so you don't get prompted by which color you want to use. Now we have this simple nesting right here, and now we can link from the home page directly to the subpage in the subpage by going on here, link to page, and as always you could also just type it out, so link to page and then click enter, and then you can link to subpage in the subpage. You already saw it recommended there, click enter, and now you have a link directly to the subpage in the subpage, and you can see which pages are linking back. So it's basically working like the internet. And here you have a callout, so you can type stuff, I don't know, maybe a important note or something like that. This is it for the basic blocks. Now you have media blocks, so you can add an image, a website, video, audio, code. That's pretty interesting. So yeah, you can add code in many different programming languages. This makes it very easy to copy because you have the simple copy button and now you have it copied. This is great. So what else do we have? This is pretty much it for the media. You can also upload files up to 5 megabytes on the free plan. So for example, a PDF or anything really, also a drive, whatever you wish. Then we have the databases. Let's spend some time on the databases in a second. Then the AI blocks, you don't have to worry about AI blocks. These are pretty much not useful. Table of contents. So this shows you a table of all the headlines. So if you have maybe H2 and then test and then H3 and test and then another H2, you see a table of contents and you can directly navigate to all of them by simply clicking. And if you have really long pages, you can navigate around the page pretty fast with this table of content. You can also like shorten table of contents by only going a /toc, and then you can generate a table of contents from the get-go pretty easily. Okay, so what else do we have? Block equation. Well, if you want to get really fancy with a text equation, you can do that right here. So if you're into math, science, physics, basically STEM subjects, then this might be pretty interesting for you. You can add a button, so you can automate something, maybe create a new page or add a new node in a certain page. So this is pretty nice. You can add a breadcrumb, so this is the same stuff as you see right here. You can reference this stuff in a breadcrumb. This is called a breadcrumb. These are the databases. You can create sync blocks, so if you change something on this side, so hello, let's type it wrong, hello, copy and sync, and now we go on the subpage, we go hello, and now we say, okay, we want to change this hello field. You see everything in this block gets synced. We want to like maybe put the smiley down here. It gets synced automatically. If we remove it and type hello again, for example, it's always synchronized. It's really valuable block for more complex builds and stuff that changes frequently. These are the toggle headings. You already had those. Then you can create more columns. So for example, 2 columns. Now you can align stuff, column 1 and column 2. And now you have stuff next to each other, but you don't have to use this property with C2, for example. You could also simply just take something like a heading, drag it next to another thing, and you see like this blue thing appear drag it, now you have 2 columns right here. Take another one, drag it again. Right, now you have 3 columns. And you can repeat this, I think up to 5 or 6 columns. Okay, this is it for the columns part. And then you can mention stuff. We already had that. And then here you can embed lots of different other software I don't want to go into right now. Okay. Now let's have a look at the databases. So you can either create an inline database or a full page database. This happens by simply clicking or typing again and then clicking, or you can also like just type the slash and then scroll down to the databases. But I only want to see the database view right now, so that's why I go with /database. And the only 2 databases you really need to distinguish, because here are a lot of different options, are the inline and the full page. And essentially they are both pretty much the same. So a full page references you to a full page, and an inline database shows you a database inline, but it is basically also a full page. So this is the difference. So full page is the page on its own, and the inline is like, just on this page, but it doesn't make a difference. You can always use database, then go for choose a view, then choose the full page. And now you have from the beginning, it was a full page database, but now it's also a inline database. So I recommend you to just go for full page databases all the time, because it makes your life way easier to distinguish them. So now we have a full page database. Database example. We can add an icon, data. Now we have a great database. This is a so-called table view. So Notion has different views with databases. With the plus icon, you can add different properties, for example, an email field and a created time field. So when these entries individually were created, you can add a number field and maybe in a currency. So now it gets automatically populated. Then here you have calculate features, so you can count all or sum them up. So these are pretty handy options. And then you have all of these different properties you can click through on your own. Most of these properties are pretty much self-explanatory. So for example, text, number are explanatory, URL, email, phone, and date and stuff. So you can click through there. You can also see your connections down here. But these are the simple properties. And the real power of databases comes in because you can change, if you click on these 3 buttons, the layout. So it's always the same data in the database, but you can change the way this data is displayed. So right now we have the default view, which is a table, but you can also choose a board view, which doesn't make much sense in our current layout. You could also go for something like project management and display a timeline view. Or if we have a data or date property, you can go into a calendar view and then have a calendar where you can see maybe deadlines or to-dos until to a certain date, for example. You can choose a list property, so all of them will be listed down under each other in a simplistic manner. Or you can choose a gallery, so you can add preview images if you wish, but that is not a certain use case I personally have a lot. So I barely use the gallery. Okay, and with any layout, you can customize it, make it preview images. Do you want a preview image? No, but if you want one, how big do you want the image to be? Do you want to wrap the properties, or do you want to show the page icon? So this thing, Notion is pretty much customizable in every single aspect you could think of, and that makes it really powerful, but it's simple enough to be not overly complex for a complete beginner. So I advise you, if you actually want to get started with Notion, you hop into the software, just play around with all the different blocks like I did, and then experiment and maybe try to come up with a project you want to rebuild in Notion, for example, a to-do list, and then find out how to build it on your own through Googling, watching videos, and just trying, assessing what went wrong, and then redoing it until it works. So this is the most efficient way to get started with Notion.